Hello everyone, my name is D'Artagnan Shivers and welcome to my channel. Let me start off by saying that my exposure to financial literacy was non-existent growing up. All of the adults in my life had substantial amounts of debt, low credit scores, and knew little to nothing about investing. In addition, grade school failed to provide me with a proper financial education. In spite of me coming into adulthood financially illiterate, I've been able to pick up a few things that have led to some pretty impressive accomplishments. I bought my first house in October of 2019. In 2020, I was able to produce a stock portfolio worth nearly $100,000. Currently, all my credit scores are above 730, and come this summer, I will have my master's degree with absolutely no student debt. It's definitely been quite the journey, and with this channel, I plan to share my experiences and insights regarding finances. My purpose is to enhance your knowledge so that you may make well-informed financial decisions. No sales pitches, no gimmicks, just straight gem dropping. With all that said, let's get into my first lesson. In this video, I'd like to stress the importance of effective budgeting. Budgeting can be such a cliche topic. Just spend less than you make, right? But this is a very diluted way of thinking about it. When I first started budgeting, I thought I was simply just supposed to monitor my spending. You know, sacrificing eating out here, finding a good deal there. Over time, my idea of budgeting evolved into so much more. So 5 years ago, I started recording, monitoring, and evaluating my income and expenses. This has enabled me to realize poor spending habits, bring down expenses, and increase cash flow. Now, I haven't always made the best decisions, but I've definitely gotten better over time. And those improvements have placed me in a pretty comfortable position. In addition, effective budgeting has made way for some incredible opportunities. For example, I had the means to utilize a market crash to produce a $100,000 stock portfolio. So please stick around with me while I share some of my tips and insight on how to effectively budget. Alright, so your first step is you want to create a budgeting template. Now, I know that there are apps that can track your spending for you, but I highly recommend you create a spreadsheet where you have to manually enter everything yourself. And I will go into why a bit later. As mentioned before, this has been a 5-year process for me. I've learned so many things along the way, and I would like to share them all, but I want to keep these videos short. So for now, I'm just going to highlight a few things and go in greater detail on later videos. So when creating your spreadsheet, be sure to create an expectations column. In this column, you will enter the amount that you expect will go into the following cells each month. I suggest you initially not look up those values because you may be surprised how aware or perhaps unaware you are of your financial situation. So I've already went ahead and input these values. Notice that I have multiple categories and I'm pretty specific about the elements within them. The more organized and detailed you are, the better. In this first section, we have income. Here you want to be sure to not just limit yourself to the amount of money you make from your job. You'd be surprised how many ways you can make a little extra cash. The sections to follow are all expenses. While recording these each month, you want to be diligent in seeking ways to reduce them. In the home bills section, you can reduce your mortgage by refinancing when interest rates are lower or you've significantly improved your credit score. Typically, you can't reduce rent unless you move, but keep in mind that you could always rent out a room or your couch to generate more income to go towards your rent cost. For utilities, it's obvious that you could just be proactive in limiting your usage, but you may also want to see if there are different types of pricing options. I know SDG&E has different types of programs that may better suit your situation and help decrease your monthly bill. Next up, we have necessary expenses. Best piece of advice for this section is to just shop around for the best deals. This next section is very important. Obligations. These are your loans and lines of credit. It's incredibly important that you pay these on time so that your credit score is not negatively affected. Maybe even try to pay more than the minimum so you can avoid paying more interest. Next up, we have unnecessary spending. This is typically what is holding most people back from achieving their financial goals. Conquering this category requires incredible discipline and sacrifice. Elimination is really the only solution. Lastly, we have unforeseen and irregular expenses. These costs can be extremely heartbreaking, and it is very important that you have an emergency fund just for these situations. In the absence of an emergency fund, you may have to be late or miss a payment on one of your other expenses. It may also force you into liquidating an investment at the wrong time. So the only way to combat this is to not spread yourself too thin and effectively budget. Once you've tallied up all your income and expenses, you'll want to compute what's left over. Hopefully you're not in the negative. If you are, then you really need to boost your income and bring down those expenses. Once you're in a position to consistently have something left over after all expenses, you will want to start investing. Your first and most important investment needs to be your emergency fund, typically placed in a savings account. You do not want to have it tied up in other investment vehicles because you want to have access at any moment's notice. Once you've built up a little nest egg, typically recommended that you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, you'll want to start contributing to other investment platforms. The investment vehicles you should partake in are uniquely dependent on your situation and goals. Never allow anyone to convince you of what is right for you. Research your options and weigh out the pros and cons as they apply to you. When it comes to filling out your spreadsheet, you can record your transactions as they happen, or like me, you can wait until the end of the month. If most of your transactions are done electronically, it can make this process very convenient. For any cash transactions, you can simply just take note in your phone and add it later. For your expenses, I recommend using a credit card every chance you get. The reason is, most credit cards give you rewards when you use them. Sometimes you aren't given the option to use a credit card, or there's a fee applied if you do. If the fee outweighs the reward you receive, just use your debit card or cash. Growing up, I was taught to only use credit cards in the case of an emergency. However, I come to learn that I was leaving money on the table when following that rule. Creditors want you to use your card because they make money off the interest you pay. By accrediting you some kind of reward, you're incentivized to swipe that card. To hustle the hustler, completely pay off your balance before the end of the billing cycle, and you will avoid paying the interest charge while still gaining the rewards. Plus, the more often you use your card, the greater chance of the creditor increasing your credit limit, which further boosts your credit score. However, proceed with caution when they boost your limit. It's a ploy to get you to spend more and ultimately pay them interest. I'd like to mention that it's a common myth that you should leave a small balance to help boost your credit score. I've never paid a penny in interest, and my score is above 730. My credit limit has significantly increased, and I've earned a little over $1,500 in reward just with this one card in the past 5 years. Different cards come with different perks. It's important that you understand how the perks work and all the fine print details associated with each card. Here, I show a breakdown of 3 of my cards. Comparing them, I'm able to realize in which situation should I use a particular card so that I may maximize my return. Not only does this optimize my gains, it also makes recording my transactions to my budget sheet a whole lot easier. To make recording easier, I customize the transaction history range to be just for that month and add every single transaction to the spreadsheet. You can see this when I click on the restaurants and junk food cell. Notice that I've put every single transaction in the cell. Trust me when I say, doing this every single month can definitely help you resist the urge of racking up too many of these kind of transactions. I'd also like to mention that you should be very careful when setting up automatic payments. I can't tell you how many times errors were made on my bill, or my bill would hike up due to some promotional deal expiring. It can be tedious manually paying each bill every month, however it definitely beats the hassle of trying to get a refund. Also, when it comes to promotional pricing expirations, call customer service and threaten to take your business elsewhere. Typically, that brings your bill right back down. While putting this video together, I stumbled upon another example that illustrates the importance of monitoring your expenses and exposes the danger of using automatic payments. So I logged into my account for the furniture credit line I bought a little over a year ago. When doing so, I realized that my monthly payment has slowly been going down each month. I then took a look at my billing statement and something caught my eye. There were 2 dates that were upcoming in a few months. After actually reading my bill, I learned that if the promotional balances were not completely paid off, the deferred interest would be added to my balance. When I was at the furniture store, I swear the salesperson told me that I was getting a 0% interest financing for 18 months. What was not explained was that with this type of financing, they track all the interest that you would have paid along the way, and even if you owe 1 cent the day after the promotional expiration date, they will add all that accumulated interest. So I'm glad that I was able to catch that now, because otherwise I would have been paying a little over $1,000. What really grinds my gears about the whole situation is that when setting up the automatic payment, there was no option for paying the amount necessary to pay it off by the promotional expiration date. I had the minimum payment option selected, assuming that it would take care of everything, but it almost screwed me big time. To be completely fair though, they clearly disclosed that information on the bill. Had I just read it, I wouldn't have almost got hustled. So let this be a lesson to y'all. Monitor your expenses, be cautious of automatic payments, and most importantly, read your damn bill. So hopefully you've seen how you can be a bit more proactive when budgeting. If done properly, you can improve your credit score, enhance your cash flow, and have the ability to take advantage of amazing opportunities as they arise. If you enjoyed this video, help a brother by clicking that like button. Also, be sure to subscribe so that you can officially join me in striving towards financial wellness.